live stream on? Good, I've got a thumbs up. I'm just going to welcome our live stream. Thank you as well for joining us. If you're watching live or if you're watching back, thank you for joining us. I'm also going to invite up Simon. So Simon's jumped in this morning to speak to us. Thank you for doing that. And you're going to share with us from John 10?
Yeah.
Correct? Brilliant. Fantastic. Can I pray for you before we get started?
Yeah.
Father, I want to thank you so much for Simon, for coming and sharing your word with us this morning, for jumping in at the last minute and being willing to serve us as a church and to serve you, Lord. I pray, Father, that you would bless him as he blesses us, and I pray for us that our ears would be open to hear from you, and that what you have for us this morning, that we would hear, that it would land, that we would do something with it, that we would react and act in ways that would give you glory. And I hand this time over to you, Father. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jill. Yeah.
You want to move that?
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you. Good morning, folks. Lovely to share with you this morning. I was praying sort of during the week, and the one phrase that came up in my mind is, "My sheep listen to my voice." So that's what I got. So that's it. Job done. So it took me to John 10, and I read the passage that verse comes from, and then some stuff has come from that. So hope it blesses you this morning. But maybe even just before that, I just want to recognize, just for anyone who's new, but just for all of us, like, we're going through a really challenging, confusing time right now. Our pastor has moved away, has moved on, has left, and that's confusing, and that's hard, and that's difficult. So I just want to say that right from the offset, because as I share this morning, I just hope that some of what comes out will speak into that and speak into how we maybe feel about that and what we should do about that. And I would also just like to pray again, because I just want to admit that I've not got a clue. And I think you'd like to all probably pray that too, because we're all in that same boat together. So let's just start off with vulnerability and honesty and just say, I don't have a clue. So let's just pray. Father, I don't have a clue. We don't have a clue. We're lost. We're like mad sheep right now, bumping around, not knowing what's what. But Lord Jesus, you are our good shepherd. You love us. And it's your voice that we need to tune into. So please, just as church together, we just say, open our ears, open our hearts, and speak. May your Spirit just come into land on us just now. And I just pray for wisdom, Father. Anything that comes out of my mouth, Father, I just pray for just your words to land well, and anything that's just not, just to go away. And I just pray for us all just now, just to have such wisdom and discernment to really hear your voice, our shepherd's voice, the one that we know. Just ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Grand. Well, let's read some of the word. So John chapter 10, this is where the verse comes from of "My sheep listen to my voice." So we'll just read around it. So Jesus is teaching and speaking, and he's really targeting this kind of chat to the Pharisees, who think they've got it sorted, think they know it all, but actually Jesus challenges that. So I think that's maybe even nice at the start, like, to admit that we don't know it and we've not got it, and then we're not tempted to be a Pharisee. So I've not got it and I don't know it, and I want Jesus to speak to us. But this is what he is challenging them and saying to them. So the people surrounded him and asked, "How long are you going to keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly." And Jesus replied, "I have already told you, and you don't believe me. The proof is the work I do in my Father's name. But you don't believe me because you are not my sheep. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish. No one can snatch them away from me, for my Father has given them to me, and he is more powerful than anyone else. No one can snatch them from my Father's hand. The Father and I are one. So, we're Jesus' sheep. My sheep listen to my voice. My sheep listen to his voice. I know them and they follow me. So we're sheep, folks, okay? Let's get our heads around that. We're sheep and we need to listen to our shepherd's voice. We need to tune in. But how do we do that? What does that mean? What does that kind of look like? So I needed to kind of dig in a wee bit deeper, and it took me to Psalm 23, a really famous psalm, so God kind of put that in my heart as well. I'm just going to look at the first bit, and it says, "The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake." So I was having a wee bit of thinking about this, and someone at my work shared a wee thought that I thought was really helpful this week, so I'm going to share it with you. What do you think of when you think of green pastures and when you think of this psalm? I don't know, for me, traditionally, I would think of lush green meadows, like really thick grass. Have you ever come across that? Like just really thick, juicy grass that a sheep would just be dying to get their teeth round. And whenever I kind of read that psalm, I would often kind of go there in my mind. Maybe it's because we're from really wet Scotland and we get like pretty good grass around here, or I think of like an Irish meadow, thick, lush grass. And I would think, God's good. He's a God of abundance and blessing. And yeah, he wants to lead us to these lush fields to crunch and chew and just be fully satisfied. But someone sort of shared with me this week. Oh, my clicker's not clicking anymore. Could you click to the next one? There we are. Here's a picture that maybe is a bit of a contrast. And I cringe as I'm about to say this, but for Middle Eastern shepherds, their way of looking after sheep and dealing with sheep, we need to kind of do a bit of a mind jump from lovely Scottish fields with lush, thick grass to actually what were they kind of more likely to contend with. So I just want to point out a couple of things from this picture. One thing is the shepherds at the front, and you guys have probably heard this before if you've been doing church long enough, but we think shepherds kind of horde from the back and get their dogs and, come on sheep, I'll just cajole and push you to sort of force you along where you want to go. But Middle Eastern shepherds will lead from the front and just call, come, make whatever that noise is, and the sheep will just follow the shepherd rather than being pushed and forced. And the other thing this is a bit of a kind of black and white photo, but you'll notice there's not much grass, is there? I'll just move on to the next one. So there's maybe kind of a better kind of color picture, but you can kind of see it, quite a mountainous region. Shepherds wouldn't be in the cities or anything like that. They'd be on the outskirts. They'd be kind of in the kind of wildernessy bits. And yes, there's green. You can absolutely see there's green, there's grass, but it's mountainous. There's really patchy bits, and the shepherd leading a flock to green pastures, leading them to the green places, the places where they can eat. So first of all, he's got to be at the front, and the sheep are all following. And he's got to take them to the next green bit. And I don't think it was a place of lush abundance with this thick, juicy grass. But it was enough. It was enough to feed them in that place and for that time. And they would munch up all that grass. They'd be led to that green bit. They'd eat it. And then they'd probably have to continue round the mountain to the next green bit, always on the move, having their fill here, enjoying the grass, enjoying the feed, being led by their shepherd, but then having to move on to the next bit round the corner and having to feed from the next green bit. And they probably would work their circuit round a mountain that was maybe the one that they knew. It was where their family kind of did it for years. And they'd probably just do a circuit of the mountain. And by the time, maybe a week later, I don't know how long grass takes to grow, but in my garden, it seems to grow in like a week. I need to cut it again. But, it'd grow fairly quickly. In a week or a couple of weeks, you'd be back round, and it would be green pasture again on that patch that your sheep had just devoured. And, they would do the circuits. And in the passage as well, we'll come to in a minute, it talks about my sheep in a pen, or in a sheepfold, being kept in a kind of walled or kind of penned out place. So they might have had a place that was base for them. They'd go around the mountain, and then they'd kind of bring them back to that safe spot for the night or whatever. So why am I going on about Middle Eastern shepherds and grass and all this kind of stuff? Well, I feel it really spoke to me. And maybe it will speak to you and for our situation, because these sheep have to always move. You know, it's like just when they thought, like, oh, I'm getting, something from this, or I'm getting comfortable, or, things, I know how it all works. This is this, and this is this, and this is this. It's nice and ordered. And it's like, oh, no, the shepherds, we're going to the next bit. The shepherd's moving. There's been a change. I don't get it. I don't understand it. There's a change happening. It doesn't feel nice. It doesn't feel comfortable, but something's going on. And I need to tune in to my shepherd's voice to make sure that I'm listening and knowing where he's going. So it's moving and changing. The Christian life, following Jesus, isn't about this comfortable abundance of lush grass that we just veg out in, and just eat and then nothing. That's not the Christian life. Following the shepherd is uncomfortable, and it means moving. And it also, I think it talks about having enough and not having excess. Going to these patches of grass, it's like that's what we needed for that day. That's what we need for that time. Right now, what do we need now for this time? I struggle with this all the time. I'm thinking, oh, my car right now, it's like a bit clunky, and I'm thinking, oh, what's the nicer one that I can get? What's the better one that I can get? And maybe other folks relate to this. There's always that kind of, oh, what's the better thing? Or the bigger, maybe I'll get some more money at some stage and get this and get this. But I really think I've been challenged that this week of like, no, Jesus, thank you for what I've got. I've got enough for just now. And I think we really need to sort of challenge ourselves on that of, I've got enough for just now. Thank you. Thank you for my rattly car just now. It's still getting me from A to B. We've got enough. It really reminds me as well of the journey of God's people, Israel, with Moses as well. They were fed manna every day, weren't they? This manna, and it was what they needed for the day. They ate it. Some of them tried to keep it and keep extra, and what happened to it? Went all moldy and maggot infested. God gave what they needed, beautiful, fresh, gorgeous manna for the day, and then it's, no, we're moving. Next day, what's your fresh manna? Daily bread, fresh grass. And I don't know about you, but I need to tune in just now and just be like, God, where's the fresh grass today? Because I'm confused. And I don't know. So we really need to listen into our shepherd's voice and just hear where he's leading us and where's the fresh grass for today. We can't feed off old stuff. We need today's. We need to keep in tune with the shepherd's voice. We need to know what's he saying. Where is he going? We need to know his voice. And I think that's especially hard when there's a lot of other noises at play. Noises maybe in our own hearts, in our own confusion, of not knowing what's going on. Panic, stress, I don't like this, this is uncomfortable. Other people's voices, well, I think this, I'm thinking that. Or, it's noise. You can just imagine a whole pen of sheep. Bah, 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 bah. Like, there's just so much noise going on, not having a clue. But how, in this season right now, folks, are we going to tune in to the shepherd's voice? How are we going to still ourselves, silence all the crazy bahs in our hearts, and tune in to the shepherd's voice? So I just encourage us, encourage you, encourage myself to do that. And then this is this is a wee point that I have no answer to. Okay, so this is a bomb that I'm going to throw out. What do we do when we're listening to the same shepherd but we hear different things? That's hard. We're all trying to follow our Lord, but I'm hearing something, but someone else who I love and care for deeply is hearing something else. And I just want to throw that out because, let's not ignore the hard questions. That's a tough one. They love the Lord. I love the Lord. I am hearing something different here. And what tends to happen with that, just so you know, in my experience anyway, is it really starts to get difficult, and we start to do them and us. And we start to be black and white, right and wrong, good and bad. Because we kind of like to, I don't know, we're kind of brought up with that or something. It's in our nature, but it's not necessarily a good thing. And so just be wary of that. Just, folks, when you sense like different people are hearing different things, just be wary of turning goodies and baddies. Let's not do that. Let's have wisdom. Let's have discernment. But just, I don't have the answer to it, so I'm not going to answer it. But it's attention, isn't it? What do we do when we're trying to listen to the shepherd, but we hear different things? And the only other thing I can add into that, I think, is hindsight. I've had patches in my life where that's happened, where I've really loved folks who love the Lord, and I love the Lord, and we've heard very different things. And it's hurtful and confusing at the time. And I wanted them to be the baddie and me to be the goodie, for sure. I wrestled with that, and I had to try and kind of rein that in. And it took years. It's in hindsight that you're like, oh, actually, yeah, I was actually wrong on quite a few things. I was right on some, but wrong. And they were actually right on a few things and wrong on a few things. It's actually a bit messy. It's a bit mixed up. But hindsight shows me, but you know what? The Lord still did stuff. He still moved in them and moved them on to maybe a different pasture that he wanted them to do. And he still moved in me and, moved me into, he resurrected it. He redeemed it. But it maybe took time, and it's only after time that I can kind of see that. So I just want to throw that out there, because I think that's probably a question that a lot of us will be like, how can we be listening to the same shepherd but hear different things? Don't do goodies and baddies. Be patient, discernment, and hindsight. Maybe, 5 years' time, we'll be like, okay, Lord, I kind of get it now. Kind of. Okay? Not an easy answer to that one. So, just going to read this next bit of passage. Do we kind of get this image here of like sheep moving, getting their fresh grass? Yeah, different way of doing shepherding. Okay, good. This is the kind of bit just before what I read of my sheep listen to my voice. I'm just going to read it, and then I've just got a couple wee points to make after that. So, let's just read. Very truly, I tell you, Pharisees, so again, Jesus speaking to the Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them. Remember, we said that the shepherd walks in front. He goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. Therefore, Jesus said again, very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me, I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life, only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own accord. I have authority to lay it down, and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. Sorry, it's a bit of a long passage, a lot to take in. So Jesus is the gate. He describes himself as a gate to this sheepfold, this pen. He's the only way in. Jesus is our only way into safety. I wonder, what are the markers of the Jesus way in? How do we know that we're entering in through Jesus? What are those markers? How do we know that we're accessing through him? And I think there's key things that we need to ask ourselves if we're entering through Jesus. It's a way of humility. It's a way of honesty and vulnerability, admitting that we can't. All other ways are jumping over the wall, and they come with all sorts of different agendas. And I think it's really just key that we ask ourselves those things. The Jesus way in, it's honesty and humility and vulnerability. And I think just especially in this season, I think there are key words that came up for me just now, is that we really run with those words. Being honest with ourselves and one another, being vulnerable, it's okay to be weak. They're the Jesus way. See, trying to be strong, having it all together, keeping it all tight, keeping it all closed off, keeping it all secret. I don't think that is the Jesus way. He's the way into safety. He's the way in. We need to copy him and follow him, follow his way, his style. Jesus says he's the gate, but he also says he's the shepherd. We're going to recognize his voice. He's going to call out to his sheep. And remember, I just said it's like a really noisy sheep pen. And he calls out to his sheep, and the ones who hear and recognize his voice, they follow him out to get to these nice wee green pastures. But the sheep who aren't his or aren't really listening, they're just staying in the pen, and they're going to get really hungry. So we've really got to be listening to Jesus' voice and hearing his call as we go out. And again, I just kind of go back to that analogy before of just maybe for some of us just now, it's all a bit noisy. It's all a bit confusing. And I think I really feel a sense of us just really taking some time to tune in to God's voice, to Jesus' voice. He's our shepherd. He's the shepherd. He's the solid one as well. And I just want to be reminded of that when everything else is unstable and we're unsure, he's the solid one. He is the shepherd. He is our shepherd through all times, through thick and thin. He's the one that we really need to lean in and listen to. I wonder where Jesus the shepherd is leading us to. This next wee thought is, it kind of actually came to me kind of later on in my faith in Christianity, yet it's so basic. So I'm a bit like, oh my gosh, how did I miss this for so long? So I want to share it, and I hope maybe for some of this will be like, oh, that's really helpful. Or some of you might be like, yeah, I knew that. But anyway, where is Jesus the shepherd leading us to? Have a think in your head for a second. Yes, he's leading us to green pastures, to feed, to be nourished. Where is Jesus the shepherd leading us to? What is that? Just want to jump to another verse where Jesus describes himself as the way, leading us somewhere. So Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And no one comes to who? The Father. It's one of those verses that you've heard so many times, yeah? But for me, this clicked into place a few years ago. Jesus says, I'm the way to what? Where? Is it salvation, heaven? These are all good and right answers, to freedom, but see, the actual heart nub of it. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father. Jesus, folks, is the way to the Father. Like, so obvious. You hear it all the time in church. But for me, it really hit a nub a couple of years ago of, that's it. He's the way to an intimate relationship with the Father. That's it. And when he talks about, I'm the shepherd leading my sheep to the green pastures, what's he really leading us to? He's leading us to intimate connection with the Father, a feeding of our souls with communing with the Father. That's what the daily bread is. You are my daily bread. You, Father, are my daily filling, my nourishment that I need. It needs to be fresh. every day. Jesus is leading us to the Father, to an intimate relationship with him. And in these verses that we've already read, it says, I and the Father are one. This holy relational Trinity, Godhead, we're invited in. We're invited into the Father. And that's what he's leading us to. And folks, in this uncertain time, we all have needs. We're all unsettled. We're all like, And what do you need when you're, you need held by the Father, don't you? Like, you've got me. I don't get it, Dad. I don't get it. What the heck? What's going on? I don't get it. So many questions, so many tears, so many confusions, so many, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for them? What does it... Jesus leads us to the Father. And folks, that has to impact our hearts. It has to. It has to. We need to be listening to our shepherd's voice, because what's our shepherd's voice going to do? Where is it going to lead us? It's going to lead us to the Father, to be nourished, to be fed by him for what we need for that day. And then, do you know what's going to be uncomfortable? And we're going to have to move again. And he's going to lead us. Why do you think God relates to us like this? Why doesn't God just make it really easy and just plonk us in a big field with hundreds of grass? Why? Why has he always got us on the move? Why is it from one uncomfortable situation to the next? Anyone? Why? Why? It's got to be to do with relationship, hasn't it? It's got to be to do with trust and leaning in and dependency and I depend on you. It's got to be. Because if we were just plonked in a big field of lush grass, we'd just get fat and lazy. But we need to be dependent because he so desperately wants to attach himself to us and us to attach ourselves to him. So he keeps us on the move. Another uncomfortable situation, another confusing thing, some more questions. I don't get it, God. This isn't fair, God. This doesn't work. What's going on? It's because he's actually ushering you in to his embrace. Okay? So in this season, let's not be just distressed. Let's not go for goodies and baddies. Let's be welcomed in to the Father's embrace because he wants us, and he wants us in, and he wants to speak to us. Good stuff. We're coming into land. I would love for us to kind of move into a bit of a time of response and ministry and hearing from God, but one more wee thing that I just felt God saying for us this morning. So, you know, I was I've mentioned it a couple of wee times just at the start and in the middle of just a few words of honesty, vulnerability, and weakness. And I just really feel for a time like this, I say it to myself, I say it to us as a church, I say it to the leaders of this church. For a time like this, the Jesus way, okay? The Jesus way is honesty, vulnerability, and weakness. Okay, the Jesus way is not, I'm strong, I'm holding it together, and I'm keeping it all okay. Is that the Jesus way? No. It's like, no. God is like, Paul like boasts in his weakness. We need to boast in our weakness. We need to admit we need to admit that we've not got it sorted, and that we can't do it. So the Jesus way, the Jesus gate, the way in, his shepherd's way of leading is to lay his life down for his sheep, is to be vulnerable, is to be honest, and is to be weak. Okay, and I just really want those words to hit in to us today and for this season is let's be honest with ourselves and one another. Let's be vulnerable, admit that it's not okay, admit that we're confused, that we've got hundreds of questions, and be weak. Don't try and be strong, because do you know who the strong one is? Jesus, the Father, the Spirit, the Godhead, they're the strong one. He's the strong one. We don't have to be. I'm not. You're not. He is. He's our shepherd. He's the strong one. Okay, so let him be the strong one. Okay? Let's just have a time just of response to hear the shepherd's voice. So yeah, we'll just have an open time just to pray, just to listen, a time of quiet. If anyone does feel like they really would like to share something that God says, we could do that, maybe weave that into a bit of worship. If you really feel right now that you want to go and pray with somebody, please do that. If you really feel like you just need some prayer, remember I said let's admit weakness and vulnerability. If someone feels right now like I'm weak, I'm vulnerable, please step into that. Maybe just stick a hand out or tap someone on the shoulder and say, please pray with me. Okay? Should we just have a time? Let's just respond.